It was the best, most impressive performance car that I drove all year. The same car as the one I actually had the most fun in? Not necessarily. Is it the car that I've actually been left wanting and the car that I can't stop thinking about and comparing everything to and going on Auto Trader for? Also not necessarily the case. And which were the cars that surprised me the most, positively and negatively? The channel's got to a size now where, thanks to you and your support, I've doubled in growth in 6 months. I've had all sorts of amazing cars come my way and some real privileges. And I thought, let's do some awards. Let's crack on. Now, I'm going to start with the best value. Now, subjectively, if you're comparing a £60,000 Porsche Cayman GT4 to a £300,000 McLaren, it's amazing value in comparison to those things. The driving dynamics and how special it is and the quality of the interior, cool, great. I could make a case for it being great value, but at the end of the day, if someone says to me, how much money do I need to spend to jump into a super dynamic, brilliant fun, 6-cylinder car, a Porsche even, £60,000 is not the buy-in, is it? You can get into a fun Boxster at 5 or 6 grand. For me, this is where there's almost undeniable arguments for value down at this end of the scale. Do take my answer with a pinch of salt, but I'm going to say the runner-up is that Porsche Boxster 986. That car overall, just what a delight. You've got stupidly impressive practicality. You've got that beautiful flat six, an undeniable sports car sound and experience. They drive so well, and they're not just to be put in the shed and babied. You can go out and enjoy them. The fact they start at 5 grand, 3 grand even, is not a coincidence though. And that's what stops it being the best value award. They're cheap because they are expensive to run. And people say you need £3,000 or dollars a year to run these and get ready for some surprises. Now, older couples, retired people who've got a bit more in the bank, they don't care. They love these to pieces. If you bought one of these with your eyes not quite open, that's when they can sting a little bit. They're not really a great value proposition anymore. So the main award for me goes to the car that just had me the most wide-eyed, the most adrenaline, and just the most joy for that money, and for, frankly, a lot more money. And it specifically is the BBR Super 200 tuned MX-5, the Mark III that I drove earlier this year. Now, I did own a regular Mark III MX-5 before, and I'm not just being biased, because if it wasn't super tuned, I wouldn't have said that was the best car all year. I just really wouldn't have said it's the best value. But the fact that it drives with coilovers as well, you cannot compare it to an MX-5. It's just a different thing entirely. It's like driving a coffin with a race engine in it. It was so much fun. And when you think that you could buy a car for 5 grand, 6 grand or whatever, and then spend whatever you're comfortable with, let's say 4,000 doing BBR stuff and coilovers, and maybe 5 including brakes, at about that 10 mark, nothing touches it. And I'd driven the Lotus Evora S, one of the best cars ever, by the way, moments before on the same roads, and I was gobsmacked, quite frankly. So do go and check out that review. But for a car that you can jump into, it's not really going to sting you. As long as you know on the way in that there's not really any rust issues or that rust has been treated, incredible. So I think another fun award to jump into would be the biggest surprise of the year. There are cars like the Cayman GT4, the 981. It's not a surprise to anybody how amazing that car is. And yet there are cars that you might have average expectations for and they turn out to be brilliant, cool. But frankly, nothing comes close to not just the lowest expectation, but when I said to people, I can't believe this, I'm reviewing one of these in a month, or I'm doing one of these next week, everybody, without exception, went, that's cool, but that's going to drive like a bag of dicks. That's going to be awful, and it's going to be crap, but I think it would just be nostalgic and cool. The owner assured me, no, there's a lot of misconception. They're a little bit kind of triggers broom. They're not quite the same car today that they were 40 years ago. Blah, blah, blah. So even then you're thinking, okay, it could be average rather than bad.
This is the DMC DeLorean. Today we're going to be going through the quirks and features.
It has to go to the DeLorean. And that car, I don't want to spoil the video too much because I do urge you to go and watch it. But let's just say the first thing everyone says, oh, they're supposed to be really heavy, aren't they? They're heavy for the 80s compared to a 911 SC or something like that. But they're lighter than a Boxster today, and they're lighter than a Golf GTI today. When you tighten everything up, it's not the car that everyone moaned about and then has retrospectively echo chamber moaned about ever since. So that was a car that wasn't just average. I really enjoyed driving it. It was genuinely great to drive. And it also gets the next award, which was the best video that no one watched award. And I'm not surprised. It's a DeLorean. It's hardly like there's a buzzing owners group the size of a BMW owners group. You know, they barely made anything, and it doesn't really answer anybody's problem. So algorithm wise, it sent that to nobody. And anyone who watched it for absolutely ages. Really high like ratio, lots of lovely comments, but no one saw it. So do go and check it out. And it is a reason to hit the notification bell when you subscribe, because those kind of things just slip through the cracks unless it really thinks that it's for you. So the next award is the car I keep forgetting I've driven. I don't want to be that 5 things I hate about person or the worst car of the year, because truthfully, none of the cars I drove this year were bad. I was lucky in that sense. They were all good cars. But this was the one where I think it fell short. And I'll give you a clue. She's been with us the whole time. So 5-litre Mustang. Now, this review's not actually gone live yet, so do subscribe for that, because I should be getting that out in the next week or so. Overall, a great car, and I still recommend it to people. But in the spec that this particular one was in, and perhaps with standard now EU laws around sound and things like that, I think it's a little bit of a canvas waiting for you to paint a little bit and bring the best out of it. And there are some spec that I recommend you don't go for, which this car had. So that's the award that goes to the Ford Mustang. But I do still push that as something people should consider. Anyway, next one should probably go to the most impressive car I drove. This isn't the same for me, I'm going to tell you now, as the car that I had the most fun in. And it's not the car that's left the most haunting kind of having you constantly on Auto Trader effect either. But you just can't. It was brilliant. And it has to be the Cayman GT4, the 981. Just a sublime, sublime piece of engineering. And every single input is spot on. I was laughing nearly all the time whilst driving that car, grinning. It wasn't because it was 700 horsepower, at 380 brake horsepower. Everything is so right about it that it's barely like the power is even important, frankly. And it is one of those cars, the fit and finish, the quality around actually living with it as well, the practicality, just incredible. I just loved it to pieces. But the car that was the most fun for me is, again, it's that BBR Super 200 MX-5. Now, anybody who wants to raise their pitchforks in anger, all I'll say is this: any criticism you have of that car has been fixed with the right tuning. Oh, it's a bit too boat-like. Not with fantastic coilovers and alignment and corner weighting. It's not. Incredible. You know, oh, it's not a real sports car. It doesn't go fast. When you tune it and increase the power, it goes fast and it sounds better with a better exhaust, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like driving, as I said before, a coffin with a race engine. Or maybe I didn't say before in this take, but it was like driving a coffin with a race engine. It was so engaging. And I just could not believe the amount of fun I was having. So the next award comes in a different flavour, and it's the car that I can't stop thinking about. The car that, with lottery money or coming into money or the channel blowing up one day and me being the next JM or something, the car I just want to go and treat myself to, despite everything else I've driven. And whilst that Cayman GT4 has a tighter gearbox, probably has a more mature, grown-up engine tone, better interior quality, slightly more usable as well, there was something about that Lotus Evora S that I drove that felt so special in a supercar sense that the Cayman just doesn't. And the Cayman is so proficient and capable, but the Lotus, honestly, when you're just sat in that car and that view you have around you with the rake of the windscreen, the shape of it even, you look in the mirrors and you've got those kind of muscular haunches looking down the side, that frankly childishly fun supercharged V6 making an absolute racket in there. And just when you walk around it, it's just the car that I can't stop thinking about. And that's not even taking into consideration actually how it drove and how magic carpet sublime that suspension is, how confidence inspiring it is, how beautiful the steering is, as well as being one of those cars that you could actually fit suitcases in behind the rear seats and a little bit of stuff in the boot and actually go on road trips like Doug, the owner, has gone down to France in it with his wife. That's the car that, for me, that's my yardstick now for a performance car and what you could get for 35. And whenever someone's looking at something in that range, I just say to them, please, I don't care what you think, please go and drive a well-sorted Evora. Now, I have to go back and echo comments about the Boxster, for example, not quite as heavily, but it's not a car that is as simple to run. And whilst it's Toyota engine, Toyota gearbox and stuff, there are some gammy Lotus electrics going on sometimes, and just a few build quality issues. Like some comments came in saying, love this car, it financially ruined me. Others have said, a friend of mine works repairing Lotuses and just says stay away. But there are also lots of comments, people who said had mine for ages and it's been great. It's just the car I can't stop thinking about. Now the next award is the Best YouTube Button Award. Obviously, like and subscribe get a lot of PR, they get a lot of love, but it has to go to the bell icon. And I'll tell you for why, actually, in all seriousness, because when you subscribe to a channel, particularly a smaller one like myself, you may hope to see these videos, but quite often there are much bigger channels you'll subscribe to, and they just get all of the space at the top of the feed and scroll, and eventually you might be lucky if you appear further down. I'm probably doing an upload 2 a month, so it's not going to be pestering you every day, and you can always switch it off later, so that would be much appreciated. So I had a couple of silly awards up my sleeve for this bit. I kind of thought, if you just finish the video on stupid ones from here on, it hasn't really provided much value at this point. So one thing I will add as a bonus award is the Best Performance Daily Award. Now I'm going to pull a car in from last year, so we at least have a couple to really compare. So the 2 cars that I drove in the last year and a half, the Kia Stinger GTS, you can pick these up now for sub £20,000, which is insane. And even at the 30,000 plus range, they're still incredible value. And the other car to nominate would have to be the Audi RS6, the C7 2014 one. 2 very different ways of doing the mad performance daily thing. And the interesting comparison here actually is that the Audi RS6 owner has been contemplating selling his RS6 and kind of downsizing to the Kia Stinger to free up some cash. So in that way, they are actually quite comparable. So which one of those is the best value? Well, there's a case for the RS6 because you've got 550 odd brake horsepower and it's kind of super car. Honestly, 3.5 seconds to 60. It is nuts how fast that is. So practical. It is like having a supercar at £30,000, £27,000. You can get these. But again, it's that thing of they're affordable because there could be some running costs there. And they are quite reliable for Audis, but they're expensive. Even brakes can be £4,000 to completely change all of the brakes all round, as well as just what happens if something quite big happens out of warranty. So for me, the winner goes to the Kia Stinger GTS because my brother last year, when COVID prices were still holding their value a bit, he picked up a car with 3 out of 7 years of its warranty left, 11,000 miles, max spec, everything, because they come as standard, for 30 grand. And it's like having a brand new BMW or an S4, for example, or an S5, but with all that warranty and with depreciation involved as well. And even if you're down at the bottom end where you're pretty much losing the warranty now, you've got 1 or 2 years left, at the 20 grand end of the scale, it's still mad how much car you get and just how lovely they are to be in day to day with complete peace of mind. So I think the Kia has to get it by a bit, despite the fact that the Audi is a completely bonkers proposition. And owners who've had one that have behaved, which is a lot of them and most of them I imagine, do absolutely love them. Now, before I wrap things up and give you a couple of sneak previews of cars I'm going to be reviewing next year, I've got over 2,000 shares this year, and it's not by coincidence that the the channel has grown from 5,500 subs in May to now something like 10,500, 11,000 subs here in December. I can't believe the channel has doubled in size in 6-7 months. It's mad. So thank you so much for your engagement. And if you've got anything you want to review of yours that you'd like to see on the channel, please do get in touch. I'm talking like Skoda Superbs, you know, it doesn't have to be Ferraris and supercars and sports cars, just great, amazing dailies that give you utter joy. Let me know, because they're fun to do and they're probably more helpful for most people anyway. But the other one is, I couldn't have done all these videos myself, and at Purple Porker Productions, you may have seen his comments in responding to a lot of comments generally. That's my cousin, my one and only cousin, and he's been a massive driving force in getting the channel, getting me to do more and to actually get so much of the grunt and groundwork of these massive edits for me, because I've been so busy. So just a huge thank you. I think I would have probably done 2 or 3 videos this year, honestly, had it not been for him. And I think we're now probably something like 15 or 16 videos in. So huge thank you, Ben. Really appreciate it. So next year, what have we got? Well, I am going to do some more sensible cars. People have absolutely loved the Honda Civic and Suzuki Swift and the Volvo video and things like that I've done before in the past to just help more ordinary people buying ordinary things. But I have got some cool ones lined up. We've got a 718 Cayman GT4, and I quite want to do that as a head-to-head against an Evora 410 Sport. I've had 2 of those offered to review, and I think they're really comparable in value and in just, well, in their kind of mission statement, so that should be really good. Got multiple Teslas on offer, TVRs, just honestly, all sorts. So yeah, very much looking forward to those. Won't say too much more, it's got to leave some mystery, but thank you so much. Have a very happy new year, and really looking forward to seeing you all in the comments and whatever comes next in 2025. Have a great one.